You are showing them what hard work, what dedication, what following dreams and passions is all about. That's an amazing life lesson that you're giving your kids. The Old PreMeds Podcast, episode 334. Welcome to the Old PreMeds Podcast. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray, your host here every week, where I take your non-traditional questions and answer them here on the podcast. If you have a question you want answered, go over to premedhangout.com and use the hashtag or the topic tag, whatever Facebook calls it these days, OPM Podcast, Old PreMeds. Use a combination of a couple hashtags. We'll find your question and answer it here on the podcast, or at least have an opportunity to answer it here on the podcast. Before we jump in, though, I want to talk about the MCAT Minute. As a non-traditional student, your time is valuable, potentially more valuable than traditional students, right? We all have 24 hours in a day, and traditional students oftentimes don't have family, don't have to work a full-time job, to put food on the table, a roof over their head. Obviously, there are students doing all of that and doing amazing things as traditional students. As a non-traditional student, there's oftentimes a lot more responsibilities that you have, which means less time for other things. And so using Blueprint MCAT's free online schedule tool that you get for free over at blueprintmcat.com is an amazing resource to help you make sure that you are planning your time effectively. Go to blueprintmcat.com. You can use the tool to put in a kind of an estimated date that you want to take the MCAT, how many hours a week you have to study, days that you don't have available, and just figure out from that tool what your schedule is going to look like. And we know life happens. It's a simple drag and drop interface that you can use to rearrange things when life gets in the way. Because that's what happens. Life gets in the way. Mike Tyson's famous quote, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. You don't want to get punched in the face. Actually, you will get punched in the face, but have a plan. Use Blueprint MCAT Study Planner tool today. Go to blueprintmcat.com. So let's go ahead and jump into our students' question today. They said, just want to say, firstly, thanks for all your podcasts and resources that keep me motivated and help me stay awake on my commute. I'm glad I'm not putting you to sleep. There are other podcasts for that, including a great podcast by my friend Drew called Sleep With Me. It's an awesome, awesome podcast if you have insomnia. They continue here. My question is about trying to decide when to apply to medical school. In the context of life events, right now I am an active duty military member with a 2-year-old and an 8-month-old. I want to apply to medical school in 6 to 7 years once my contract is up, although there is some uncertainty about that and I might have the chance earlier. I'm doing a do-it-yourself postbac, so I need enough time to complete prereqs, which I am only able to do 1 to 2 at a time for the most part. If everything goes according to plan, my kids will be around 9 and 7 when I apply. Would this be a really tough age to go to medical school and still be able to be a present parent for them? Also, if I get in and go through residency, they'll be around 18 and 16 when I finally become an attending. That feels really late, and it's a long time where I won't be contributing as much financially. I'm not sure if this is a good plan or if I should try to move it earlier or later. Also, I have some recent shadowing. Would experiences like that no longer be relevant if I apply in 6 to 7 years? So this is a wonderful, amazing, non-traditional student who is very similar to a lot of non-trads out there, right? Having the military kind of handcuffs is a hard thing to battle because when Uncle Sam owns you, Uncle Sam owns you. And Uncle Sam will only let you go for some very specific reasons. So the first question potentially is, do you want to maybe serve in the military as a physician? The military may let you out of your current contract to go to medical school sooner. So that's one potential opportunity that you may have to speed up the process, but you would have to obviously still serve in the military. So let's go to some of these questions, right? Is going to medical school when your kids are 9 and 7, is that a good age? Well, 9 and 7 is actually a pretty great age because kids at that point are pretty self-sufficient, right? I have a 9-year-old right now as I'm recording this. I have a 5-year-old. The 5-year-old still needs a lot of support. Our 9-year-old needs less support. And so a 9 and a 7-year-old are pretty good ages. And they are aware at that age that, hey, mommy's doing something, daddy's doing something. They're going to school. They're getting an education. They want to be a doctor. They understand what a doctor is at that age. They understand this profession that you are going into. And they probably will be your biggest supporters going through this process. And yes, it is a super long process. They're 9 and 7. You add 4 years of medical school, 3 years of residency at least on top of that. That's 7 years, right? 9 plus 7, they're 16 and 14 at that point, maybe a little bit older depending on all the timing of things and residency that you choose and fellowship and all of that stuff. Life doesn't just do one, two, skip a few, and you end up and you have an 18-year-old and you've missed their life, right? Yes, there may be some sacrifice, but you are living your life, they are living their life. You are showing them what hard work, what dedication, what following dreams and passions is all about. That's an amazing life lesson that you're giving your kids. And yes, you are going to be busy. And yes, you will not be present all the time. But it's a great opportunity to have those conversations with your kids and say, hey, look, I would love to be at your baseball game. I would love to be at your softball game. I would love to be at your school event. Daddy has to work. Daddy has to study. Mommy has to work. Mommy has to do this thing, right? Whatever that may be, you have that conversation. You let them know, I still love you. I wish I could be there, but I can't. That's life, right? And I think we often get into this mindset of black and white of like, I am either there 100% of the time or I'm a failure as a parent, right? I get into that mindset a lot as well. And I have a flexible job, right? Running a medical school headquarters and mapped and being my own boss and running a big company and all this stuff, right? I have some flexibility in my schedule, and yet there are still things that I can't do because of my schedule. And my kids understand that, and I have those conversations with them, and that's okay. Right? Yes, sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it breaks my heart that I can't do something, but it's okay. At the end of the day, you have those conversations. You teach them that people in their life can love them and not be there. Those are good life lessons that you're teaching them. On top of chasing dreams and hard work and studying and all of that good stuff that you're also teaching them. So, is that a good age? Yes, right. Obviously, you want to get to medical school as soon as you can so you can become a doctor, you can live your dreams, you can become an attending and support your family financially and all of that good stuff. I wouldn't put it off longer. I wouldn't wait until there's some magic age where everything is easier because that just doesn't exist. But if you can speed it up, I of course would speed it up. Try to get there as fast as you can, doing everything possible. Now, there are some potential negatives going on here. If you're not planning to apply to medical school in 6 to 7 years and you're taking prereqs right now, there will be medical schools out there that won't like those older prereqs. And that's just part of the game. There will be medical schools that you will not be able to apply to because your prereqs are too old. You just have to understand that. You have to be okay with that. So start potentially doing some research now, reaching out to schools, going to the MSAR, doing whatever you need to do to start building a school list, to start researching, hey, are my prereqs going to be okay? Or are they not? Is this going to limit me? If I'm going to have a 16-year-old or a 9 and a 7-year-old rather in medical school, where do I want to live where my spouse feels supported, potentially with in-laws, potentially with their parents, whatever that may be? Look at the schools in that area. Make sure you're not limiting yourself because of how you're currently spacing things out. There will be some medical schools that don't like how you're spacing things out. There's nothing you can do about that, right? But in terms of really strict age cutoffs for prereqs, you just need to be careful about that. But as you go through this process, understand, right? Being a good parent doesn't equal being present 100% of the time. And you have to allow yourself some grace And you have to be able to communicate that with your kids, with your spouse, with everyone in your life, and say, hey, this week, this month is going to be really rough. I'm going to be pretty heads down, right? When you go and study for step 1, you're going to be like, hey, for these next 4 weeks, I'm not going to be around. I'm going to FaceTime you at night to say goodnight. I'm going to FaceTime you in the morning to say good morning because I'm going to leave for school before you get up. I'm going to be home after you go to bed. And that's just what it is. And yeah, maybe there's one day a week where, like a Saturday or Sunday, where you're home for that day and you just plan your schedule and you have a very strict schedule that you stick to. I've seen, for the most part, parents who are going through this process have a much better efficiency with studying because they are so strict and regimented with their study schedule, because they know, hey, Saturday is my day with my kids. I'm putting the books away. And because you are blocking that time off, you understand mentally that the rest of your time you have to be more efficient and effective with your studying. So sometimes it's a good thing to do that kind of stuff. So hopefully this was helpful. Go for it. Your plan sounds fantastic. There are some potential gotchas in there, so just pay attention to those, and hopefully everything falls into place as you want it to do. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you next time here on the Old PreMeds Podcast.